I think the main question that's come out of it is, how do we dispose of icons like the bulletin, for
Yeah.
example? And that's a big question. So the answer is that we should reverently burn them. That's the answer. And so typically in churches, they will have a burn bag. So usually the people will bring the icons to the church, to the priest, and he or the sexton of the church will burn periodically the icons. There's no reason really why you can't just do it yourself if you burn them reverently. And then so I'm always taking them home. I burn them, and then I take the ash and I put them dig a little hole in the ground and put the ash in the hole in the ground.
Kind of like palms, I guess we dispose of.
Same.
I mean, I have it.
Let me understand now, Father. Now we should be bringing our bulletins back to the church to be burnt. I was recycling them, but I will not do that anymore if I'm not supposed to.
I mean, yeah, the question is like here, so it's tied into this whole bigger question about a misunderstanding of the role of icons, especially in the modern West. And so, I tried to point out the misunderstandings that have happened in the modern West because of the Enlightenment, because of the separation between, the so-called separation between the spiritual and the material. And then one way of trying to undo this was to emphasize, well, we write icons, we need to think about them differently. So the intent is good, and there's a lot of truth in that statement. But, the bigger problem is that the modern West misunderstands icons. And so, so a lot of churches in the US, you're going to see this confusion about how to dispose of icons. There's a certain blameless ignorance, I would say, because that's where the culture has taken us. It's a Protestant culture. So there's a debate about it. Father Micah claims that, so if you look at the icons, that he's always the one who picks them out. If you notice, the icons on the bulletin corners will never have an inscription that identifies the saint, right? So he claims that he's found, I don't know if it was in the canons or in the text of one of the fathers, but this idea that if there's not an inscription that identifies it, then therefore it's not recognizable, right? Because that's kind of the criterion that I was pointing out in the sermon, is that when the image becomes recognizable to the community of faith, meaning it follows the accepted norms and traditions and style guidelines and when it falls within those guidelines and the community of faith, the church, recognize it, then it becomes de facto holy. So he claims that by not having the inscription, that it meets this criterion of, well, therefore it's not recognizable, therefore it doesn't attain the status of an icon. And even
I haven't heard that.
He knows though that's kind of he's kind of pushing it. But the problem was that there's ignorance, and so you're kind of stuck then.
Well, not to interrupt, but just to interject that what I had read, that there were some iconographers who felt such humility in producing the icons that they would not even sign, did not want the recognition. And then another source that I read said that in relationship to the stories, as much as anything else, they were icons written by the hand of, that was their, but that's taking the phrase out of context.
No, that's completely separate. So when I say inscription, I mean not the author's signature. That's totally different. The inscription meaning, once you typically they'll paint an icon like here. Father Micah just gave me this one. So you see this icon here. So they'll paint the icon, and then the last thing they add is who the saint is. It'll say Saint so-and-so. So he's saying that if it doesn't say Saint Demetrios, then it doesn't meet the criterion. So it doesn't have anything to do with the artist.
Yeah.
Father, I'm going to just go crazy over this, but we get icons in the mail all the time. I guess I don't want to be, not do what I'm supposed to do, but you're saying that all of those should be burned?
No, no, no.
Yes.
You're talking
Yes, he
about,
is. Yes, she is.
Yes.
Yes, he is saying that.
That's
Yes.
correct. That is
Why don't we have a box where we can just
Yeah, I was
leave a
gonna
bulletin
say.
as we exit the church?
most churches, let me correct it. Most, I would say, like convert churches or, you know, do have that. There is what we call a burn box, and then people will bring those items. They'll bring palms, old palms. They'll bring, you know, any kind of holy item that needs to be disposed of. They'll bring, and then the priest or the sexton will take care of it. And I mean, that's really kind of standard in Orthodoxy. It's only kind of in the modern Western Orthodox world, especially among kind of the ethnic, you know, Greeks and Russians who Americanized. There's been an influence of Protestantism, you know, that we've lost this understanding of what the icon is. And so in those churches, we've just kind of lost consciousness of the reverence for the icon. And in my mind, that's dangerous on a number of levels that I pointed out in the sermon.
Well, we are in
Set
such
up
an
a box for us?
digital edition.
Are you gonna set up a box in the church, Father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have one now. I have one in the back in the altar area, so you guys can bring one in, but I need to talk to the parish council about setting one up in the narthex so they're aware of what's going on, and that if someone brings something, they can just put it in the box there.
Maybe in one of the anteroom, the anteroom there.
Yeah.
Father, you could also make it so that people are, mention the possibility to us that we could just deposit our bulletin there on the way out if we're done with it.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I mean, now that we're printing them at home, you know, even the Koinonia has an icon on it. So it means anything. I mean, even if you print it in color or not in color, I guess it's still an icon, right, Father?
yeah, and take a look at, I mean, so when you receive things in the mail from Orthodox organizations, let's say if you get something from IOCC or OCMC or whatever, take a look at the mailings, because I think you're going to notice that, especially over the last years, there's been more of a development of an awareness of this, and that they'll try to be more judicious in how they use icons proper in the mailings. At least some organizations that are more traditional, you'll notice that they've cut way down. They'll tend to use more like crosses or something else.
Okay. Well, we'll have to worry about our digital albums of icons. I saved my
Our what? Our what?
Whole nother
Our what?
iPhoto. You know, you have the albums, and you can put all your photographs are in one icon, and you tap on that, and if you have like I put favorite icons that I see, I put them in my little file.
Yeah, that's a
What's the name of the file again? What's the
just-
name of the file?
Yeah, whatever you name it, you make your own album.
when you have a digital photo. So on the internet, the digital photos, virtual photos, what do we do with them? So it's actually a branch of theology that it's being discussed. How do you dispose of a digital file, right? So normally we take a file, whatever it is, a photo, we don't want it anymore, we drag it into the trash, right? On our computer. You know, so there's an actual theological discussion in Greece about this. You know, is that proper? You know, how do you dispose of a digital icon? Is there something material or tangible that it's attached to? So the bytes of information that contain the pieces of the icon, are they sanctified by the fact that they held a digital icon, right? And so then how should they be repurposed? How should they be reused? It's an actual discussion. I mean,
We send it to the class.
You know, Father, you have just blown my mind. You know that?
No, everything goes to the cloud.
I'm gonna have to recycle all my recycling so I can go back and get icons.
That's very
yeah. Anyway,
No, I just put some in the recycling, so I'm telling him I'm gonna have to go back in them and get them out now.
well, Father Micah, he makes an argument that that the recycling is acceptable to some degree, as you know, it's not ideal, but that it's acceptable because it's at least reusing. It's not
Yeah,
trashing it. It's
Right.
reusing it, and
Yeah.
that you're sanctifying creation by, you know, I'm not convinced by this argument because, you know, like let's say for paper products, okay, we're recycling paper. You know what they use recycled paper for? Making toilet paper, right? So is that what we want to
Well,
use? I mean,
Well, they
agree.
use it for other things, Father, please.
I know, I
like
know.
other paper.
I mean, he'll say it like, oh, well, they'll reuse it and they'll make a notebook and a kid will take the notebook and, learn his, grammar in it and da, da, da. Okay, that's possible. But I mean, it's a kind of justification because of the situation we find ourselves in the modern West, where there's this no understanding of icons. It's a fait accompli now. We're stuck in the situation where people don't understand. So now we kind of have to rationalize. Otherwise, we'll just go crazy, thinking about, oh my gosh, all those icons, what's happening to them? But,
Okay, so from today on, I will do that. From here past, I can't be responsible.
I remember my spiritual father.
I'm asking for forgiveness, Father.
Oh, God forgives. God forgives. My spiritual father in Thessaloniki, I remember he had thousands of spiritual children. He was the head priest of one of the biggest and oldest churches in Greece. The church was built in 450. He had all this. But I remember coming in sometimes and finding him at his desk, and he would save all the mail or whatever publications that he got that had a little icon in it. He would be there with scissors and he would be cutting out the icon out of all these bulletins, and then he would recycle the rest, and he would take all these scraps and he had a burn bag and he would burn them.
Well, that was very, we have to do what we can do, I think, a lot of times, and this effort. So,
but at least we should, even if we can't always, at least be aware. So it's the same with like fasting or something. Sometimes there are legitimate reasons why many of us cannot keep the full fast, but it's not acceptable to just rationalize it away and say, well, the fast is stupid and da da da. No, you say, here's what we should be doing. Here's the teaching. I fall short of it. Okay. May God forgive me. I'm doing the best I can because of this. And okay, that's fine. But don't change history. Don't change facts. I mean,
Father,
and
can
if it becomes an issue for you, you have to address that issue. As far as the icons, and because look at all the catalogs that we get.
I know. I would have never thought what you just said, Father. I mean, I understand an icon that I used to bring back not tons, but many when I would go to Russia. I understand a stand-up icon, but I would have never thought just a picture of one on a piece of paper would be a true icon.
You should feel compelled to handle it with fact and everything. So I think that's the answer for. Yeah. But if we can have a recyclable bin at church, for those who feel compelled to do that, I think that's a lovely idea to teach respect.
And even
it doesn't have to be recycled. Sorry.
I don't even manage to get 100%. I try to be vigilant about it. I try to do what my spiritual father did. I try to, but I know there's sometimes situations where, and I just try to do the best I can. There's something, okay, at least put it in the recycling rather than the trash. Or at least I'm aware of it, and I try. But I'm not going to bat 1,000. But at least I try, and I'm aware of it. And when I see that, okay, it's not being handled properly, it makes me a little sad for a minute. It pains me, and I say, all right, well, try better next time. It's not ideal, but